My name is Steve Smith. I'm the CEO of Fonative. We help businesses connect with customers through voice and text. What does that mean? Well, we're a software as a service business. We're in fact, a subcategory of software as a service called communication platform as a service. So we operate a lot of servers in the cloud and have connections with telecom companies. And we have a web API that our customers use to command us to make phone calls on their behalf, receive phone calls on their behalf, send and receive text messages. There are other companies that do what we do, and our niche is that we are HIPAA secure and PCI compliant, so we tend to sell into highly regulated businesses, highly regulated call centers that have to take great care with their communications. But we're not the first company or the first individuals to do something with telephones here in Lowell. In fact, telephone numbers were invented right here in Lowell, Massachusetts in 1879. So we all know about Alexander Graham Bell, right, inventing the telephone in 1875, and he founded the Bell Telephone Company. Later that year, he was here in Lowell distributing or demonstrating his new invention at Lowell's Huntington Hall, and Dr. Moses Greeley Parker, a physician, was in attendance. He immediately understood the vision and the possibility of this invention. In fact, he on the spot ordered a pair of telephones and had a private line connecting his office to his house, and he had the first private telephone system outside Boston ever. Right here in Lowell. Let me find out. Oops. Sorry, I'm trying to scroll down my notes here because there's a few other good points of the story. So as you may have read here, he was concerned that the old switchboards in that day, you would ring up and the operator would say, who do you want to talk to? And you'd say, I want to talk to the Malinowski party. And that switchboard operator would know the Malinowski party is 4 over and 3 down. He was concerned that there were only 4 switchboard operators, and if there was an outbreak of measles or something like that, that the telephone network would go down. So he suggested that we use numbers instead of names for the parties that you connect to. And he suggested the idea to Alexander Graham Bell, who thought it was a good idea, so he incorporated it into the Bell telephone network and then AT&T. So right here in Lowell, phone numbers were invented. So this particular doctor went on to invest in the local telephone company under the conditions of secrecy because he was worried his patients would find out and think that he was flighty. And he was one of the first large individual shareholders in AT&T, and he made a fortune and went on to endow a lot of things. There's Parker Libraries in this area, and there is still in Lowell, Massachusetts, the Moses Greeley Parker Lecture Series that he endowed starting in 1917. So fun stuff, right? So fast forward 140 years, and we're making lots of phone calls based out of a company that we run right here in Lowell at the iHub. We do this by having a web API that customers send messages, and you can see some of those there to start calls or send text messages or connect 2 calls together. And we're doing this a lot. So we're doing over 2 million calls a day on our platform. Some of you were over there and you were looking at some of our screens that were showing how many calls we have active at a time. We are in 72 customer contact centers. Our peak every day is a little bit over 2,000 agents. The industry verticals that our product's most appealing to is healthcare revenue cycle, accounts receivable management, state and local tax. And some people have been asking about our company. We're a new old startup. So I have a friend that in the 1980s started an architecture firm. He couldn't think what to call it, so he called it TBA Architects. And now 30 plus years later, they're handing it off to the next generation of owners to figure out what to call it. We started in 1992 as Ampersand, and it took us 24 years, but we finally did figure out what we wanted to be, which was a CPaaS company. So I've got him beat. So there's a little bit of our history there. We have a few patents. We've got a strong leadership team and some of the past credentials. We've been in the local area in a lot of brands that you may recognize. And best of all, we are headquartered right here. In fact, right about there is where my team and I are usually sitting most days of the week. My ask, Bobby said I get an ask. Really, the ask is, if you find us interesting, please follow us. We're looking for more LinkedIn and Twitter followers and questions.
Do we have questions? That means you did a perfect presentation.
Holy.
Can you speak to your revenue model a little bit and how quickly in the 25 years you've gotten customers and how that ramp looks?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the history before 2016 isn't too relevant because we did a variety of things. Our revenue model is we charge per text, per minute of telephone call, and because we're working with call centers and we have to outlay a lot of fixed capacity for them, we charge based upon ports of use or simultaneous phone calls.